Good day, everyone. My name is Engineer Shegun, and I'll be your guide in physics. Today, we're talking about quantities. And in physics, quantities are basically those physical parameters of matter that can be measured. And there are several categories we can classify quantities. But today, we'll be classifying quantities based on fundamental and derived quantities. And when we talk about fundamental quantities, we are referring to those basic quantities in physics from which other quantities can be gotten from. Now, in my table here is a list of all the fundamental quantities that a student needs to know if you are preparing for JAMB or WAEC or even NECO. So here's fundamental quantities, and this is SI units. Let me quickly say what SI stands for. S stands for system and I stands for international. So it simply means system international units. These are the generally accepted units everywhere in the world. Although there can be other units, but the ones that are generally accepted is the SI unit. So, number one fundamental quantity I'd like you to know is mass. And the SI unit for mass is kilogram, which can be abbreviated as kg. We have length, and the SI unit of length is meters, which can be represented by letter M, small letter m. We have time. The SI unit for time is seconds, which can be represented by small letter s. We have temperature. The SI unit for temperature is Kelvin, which can be represented by small letter k. We have electric current in amperes. SI unit is amperes, which can be represented by letter A. We have amount of substance. The SI unit for it is moles, which can be represented by MOL for short. We have light intensity, which can also be called luminous intensity. And the SI unit for it is candela, abbreviated as CD. So these are the 7 fundamental quantities that they are. There is also derived quantities. Derived quantities are those quantities that you get from the mathematical combination of 2 or more fundamental quantities. It will be much easier for a student preparing for JAMB or WAEC to know the fundamental quantity. Then as we go through our journey of studying physics, those derived quantities, you get to know them naturally. Therefore, it becomes easier for you to know that whatsoever does not fall into this category is a derived quantity. In our next slide, I'll be showing you how you can answer questions on derived quantities generally. So previously we have talked about the fundamental quantities and the derived quantities. Now we are going to be looking at questions and how a student needs. Now we are going to be looking at questions and how these questions can be answered. Now I want to also add this that, previously I told you that as a student you must know the fundamental quantities, the 7 of them, and as well as their SI units. For the derived, you get to know them naturally as you progress. In this first question we have here, question number 1, it says, which of these is not a fundamental quantity? In my mind, I know the fundamental quantity and as well as their SI units. So which of these is not a fundamental quantity? Option A, momentum. Option B, length. Option C, time. Option D, mass. I know length is a fundamental quantity. I know time is a fundamental quantity. I know mass is a fundamental quantity. The only odd one here is momentum. So the answer to this question is A, momentum, because the question says which of these is not a fundamental quantity. Let's look at question number 2. Which of these are fundamental units only? Now this question is actually very interesting because they are testing your knowledge of the units if you know the fundamental units. Here, M here stands for meters, proteins meters, a fundamental unit for length. This seconds, this Kelvin, but this is M, Newton for force. Newton is not a fundamental quantity, so I cannot take this as my answer. Look at B. CD is candela, the SI unit for light intensity. S is seconds, K is Kelvin, and MOL is mole. Look at this. These joules, J for joules, the SI unit for work or energy. N is Newton, force, S is seconds. In option D, N, Newton, J, joules, C, D, candela. Now, since the question is asking me which of these are fundamental units only, the only option that strictly comprises of fundamental units is option B. So the answer to this question is option B. Now, from everything that has been said, I think a student is good to go in any question they can possibly ask you on fundamental and derived quantities. In our next class, we'll be looking at motion, which is a very important concept in physics.